Elon Musk plans to destroy the corrupt federal bureaucracy with one simple trick and 6 simple words. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. I want to be clear. The 6 simple words are not, I'm Michael Knowles and this is the Michael Knowles Show. Those would be 10 simple words. It's a different 6 words. Though speaking of shows, Joy Reid of MSNBC is losing her television show and she's crying about it. We'll get to that in one moment. First, I want to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898 today. Everyone is talking about the economy. Economic experts have been analyzing long-term trends. Some have concerns, of course, because we're approaching 2030. And that means you got the boomers retiring. That means you got strain on Social Security and Medicare. At the same time, we're dealing with a smaller workforce, huge national debt, rising living costs. So hopefully they fix some of the economic problems. In the meantime, these are the kinds of things that make you think about financial security. I've looked into plenty of options. You cannot dismiss the tried and true traditional approach, investing in physical gold. You know, I have a fair bit of physical gold in my portfolio. I was talking to my father last night and he said, wow, Michael, are you gonna sell some of your gold? I said, why would I sell some of my gold? I don't know. It's been a great instrument. I've been happy to have a lot of it in my portfolio. Right now, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA without any out-of-pocket costs. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898. Get your free info kit. Get the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. No obligation, only information. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898 today. Also, speaking of golden opportunities, I am going to be at the Great Smoke in South Florida. It's going to be at the South Florida Fairgrounds. That is on March 15th, Saturday, March 15th. It's going to be hosted by the great cigar man, Abe Dababneh, and the owner of Smoke Inn. He's the host of KMA Talk Radio. So anyway, it's going to be thousands of cigar enthusiasts. Mayflower will be there. I will be there. We're going to have a lot of fun. I know sometimes people complain. They say, Michael, I didn't know you were going to be in my area. You don't post a list of your tour or your speaking events or whatever. And I know I never do it. I'm disorganized. But mark your calendar. Get your tickets. The Great Smoke. Just look it up. The Great Smoke. South Florida Fairgrounds. Could be a lot of fun coming up in just a couple weeks now. A few weeks. Now, in the meantime, a lot of corrupt bureaucrats are going to lose their jobs. And the reason they're going to lose their jobs is because of 6 simple words from Elon Musk. Elon Musk sent out an email last week. They were right at the end of the week. And the subject had 6 words in it. What did you do last week? Those were the words. What did you do last week? Now, the body of the email asked federal employees to reply with 5 examples of what they did over the previous 7 days. Now, in the email, DOGE said, do not reveal any classified information, do not go further than your contracts allow you to go. Just in broad strokes, 5 little bullet points. What did you do last week? Musk also said that failure to respond to the email would be taken as a letter of resignation. Elon here is a total culture vulture. He is a meme king. I don't just say that because I know that he posts a lot of memes to X. I have some mutual friends with Elon Musk. The guy sends people memes a lot. He's a real culture maven. And this email comes directly out of the hit 1990s movie, Office Space. He did this meme.
You physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no. My secretary does that, or the fax.
Huh. So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
What would you say you do here? You could ask that question to perhaps half of the federal bureaucracy, and that would be the response. What do you, I mean, I don't like technically do anything, but I'm really good. I have people skills. Why are you firing me, Elon? 6 simple words. What did you do last week? Now, for some of the government agencies, they actually instructed the employees not to respond because there is an insurrection, I suppose, a coup d'etat, an attempt at resistance among certain bureaucrats and managers against the duly elected government and against their legitimate bosses at the top of the executive branch. But most Americans think DOGE is good. Okay, this has been a hallmark of the first month of the Trump administration, of the second Trump administration, has been Trump just killing it on 80-20 issues. The paramount example being Trump coming out and saying, we're bringing back plastic straws, no more stupid paper straws, forces the libs to defend paper straws, which no one likes, including the libs. So here, most people know, most Americans understand there's a lot of bloat and waste and fraud and corruption in the federal government. So Trump and Elon and DOGE open up going after USAID. The libs have to defend USAID. USAID is paying for transgender ballerina performances in the Philippines. The vast majority of Americans think that's a waste of money. At best, it's a waste of money. Actually, it's usually a cover for fraud and corruption and graft and all sorts of even more nefarious stuff. But most Americans get it, including really prominent Americans who have been Democrats for many decades. I'm thinking of one guy in particular, Jamie Dimon, probably the most successful banker in America. He's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He's been a Democrat for pretty much all of his life. He's been floated as a Treasury Secretary, first under Obama, then maybe if Kamala had gotten elected. Though in recent years, he said he's barely a Democrat because the party has moved so far to the left. And he just came out and endorsed DOGE. He said that the government bureaucracy is inefficient. He said DOGE needs to be done. This is very much in keeping with people who have any historical familiarity with the matter because we know that DOGE is not unprecedented. We know it goes back over 100 years. It goes back to Woodrow Wilson's Bureau of Efficiency. After that, it goes to FDR's commission, the Brownlow Commission, which established the executive office of the president. Talk about a major shakeup. It goes to the Truman administration, which had the Hoover Commission, also big major reorganization of government. Ronald Reagan had the Grace Commission. And then in the 1990s, you had Vice President Al Gore, who bizarrely, I was sitting 2 seats behind on a flight from Miami over the weekend. I don't know, apparently the global warming money's run up because he wasn't flying private. But Al Gore during the 90s had the National Initiative for Reinventing Government, got rid of 250,000 federal jobs and consolidated 800 federal agencies. So Jamie Dimon, who is a Democrat, he comes out, he says, yeah, Elon, DOGE, it's all good. Why? A lot of people are saying, why would these federal employees respond to the email? Why would Elon do it in this clunky way? Why not talk to the managers and the assistant managers and the this and the that? The reason is, Elon has said this, he's checking to see if these federal employees even look at their email. If they're so checked out that they don't even check their email, then yeah, they should be fired. Elon further is looking to see if these federal employees even exist. You know, back in the old days of the machine, before the civil rights reform of the 1880s, a lot of people just had no-show jobs. People on the federal dole didn't even exist, maybe. So that's what Elon's checking here. Now, because of the pushback and the confusion, Musk just came out. He said, subject to the discretion of the president, they will be given another chance. Failure to respond a second time will result in termination. That's probably a good idea because who knows, maybe half the federal workforce didn't respond or more. So some people would say, great, axe them. But Elon here, he says, look, subject to the discretion of the president, we'll give him a second chance. But they do have to follow through at a certain point. Otherwise, Elon will lose credibility. Otherwise, Trump will lose credibility. But it's a good way to check. And the technocratic libs will say, well, no, you don't even really need to look because, there are all sorts of automated ways through the various computer systems, Slack channels, et cetera, to find out if the employees are being productive. That's not the point. You also want to hear it from the employees in their own words. You get different information that way. You get a sense of how the employees view their own jobs. You get a personal sense of whether they're actually engaged. And then axe the bad ones, man. The only people who want to defend bad, ineffective bureaucrats are corrupt politicians. And that's a losing issue. That's another 80-20 issue. Okay, now, speaking of finances, I want to talk to you about Done With Debt. Go to donewithdebt.com. Do you wish you could have jumped into last year's stock market boom? Yeah, probably. But when credit card bills and debt are piling up, investing feels impossible. Here's some good news. Done With Debt has your back with a fresh approach to tackling those money headaches. Their team of negotiators and legal experts go to bat for you, working directly with credit card companies and lenders to slash those bills, wipe out interest charges, and get rid of those pesky late fees and penalties. They've got a proven track record of putting more money back in people's pockets, money you could use to start building that investment portfolio you've been dreaming about. Think about it. Instead of watching your hard-earned cash disappear into minimum payments, you could finally start growing your wealth. Bottom line, Done With Debt helps turn crushing debt into financial freedom. Some of their strategies are time-sensitive. Do not wait. Start building the life you deserve. Visit donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their strategists. It is free. Go to donewithdebt.com. Donewithdebt.com. And now, folks, this is really important. Next Tuesday is Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. The following day is Ash Wednesday. Then we are in the season of Lent. Just in time for Lent, I'm taking out my Mayflower Zycar single flame lighter, and I'm lighting my Smells and Bells candle. Smells and Bells is back, and it's bigger than ever. It's literally bigger than ever. We have it in this beautiful, looks kind of like a stained glass, big, giant candle holder. I don't know, what does one call it? A cup? A bowl? I don't know, whatever it is. It's very, very high class. It's available at thecandleclub.com. This is our best-selling candle ever. People love it. It's by far my favorite candle in the collection, even more than PSL. It's just really, really good. Makes your home smell like a 12th century monastery. We've brought it back just in time for you to take advantage of that 20% off deal running right now. It ends soon. Do not wait. Mardi Gras coming up. Don't forget, members save an additional 20% off all the candles in our collection. So now you're getting a really, really good deal. Go to thecandleclub.com/Michael. Get your Smells and Bells candle. Thecandleclub.com/Michael, Michael. Prepare for Mardi Gras the proper way. Speaking of the White House, a dizzying whirlwind of gossip and rumors. Yesterday, Mr. Ben Davies says to me, he says, Michael, you got to cover the story in the show. The Eagles will not show up to the White House to celebrate winning the Super Bowl. And as with most stories that Mr. Davies offers me, I say, I don't know, is that true? I don't know if I believe this. I'm not interested. I mean, he's a big sports guy. He's a big, tough athlete. Me, a game of ping pong once a year is the height of my athleticism. So I said, I don't know, whatever. I didn't get to it. Then I check in, and it's sure enough, that story was going around. But there was a wrinkle in it. President Trump had not yet invited the Eagles to the White House. So there was no invitation for them to reject. But then furthermore, the story got even juicier because later on, after all this criticism was hurled at the Eagles, I suggested that Trump invite the Chiefs instead. All of a sudden, an unnamed source close to the Eagles said they look forward to going to the White House. No, they don't want to snub Trump. Mind you, the Eagles did snub Trump in 2018 when they won the Super Bowl, and Trump was president the first time. So good basis for assuming that they're not going to come this time. But after all that criticism, the Eagles, an unnamed source close to the Eagles came out and said, no, they really want to go to the White House. They can't wait to accept the invitation once Trump offers it. Trump still hasn't offered it. I don't know that he should offer it. I guess he should. Because Pennsylvania is a crucial state. The midterms are going to be tough. The midterms are tough in any administration. Certainly one where so many dynamic things are happening at once. So I guess he should invite them. But if I were Trump, I'd be half tempted to say, no, you had your chance in 18. You don't want to come. But now everybody's getting on board, huh? Back in 18, you thought you had a little Trump to push around, huh? Because I didn't win the popular vote. And I had the deep state gunning for me. And I was under threat of criminal prosecution. And I was told I was a KGB agent. And I was told this, that, and the other thing. You thought you were going to remove me from office. Well, guess what, buddies? I just won the popular vote. I'm back. And all those prosecutions have been dropped. And all the corporations in America are sucking up to me. And there's a big political wind change. And all of a sudden, the Philadelphia Eagles want to start getting on the Trump train. Too little, too late. You're out. You're out. I'd invite Harrison Butker to the White House. But that would be vindictive. Probably it would be cutting off your nose to spite your face. Okay, that's fine. I'm glad to just lick my finger, put it into the wind, realize there is a major change of momentum this year. At the very least, though, the White House maybe can let them sweat a little bit. Let that invitation come in a little bit later. Let them beg for it. That's what I want to see. Now, speaking of a vibe shift, speaking of desperation, speaking of tears, Joy Reid, probably the nastiest figure on MSNBC, the most left, the most vicious against conservatives and white people and men and all the rest. She has just been canned, fired, kicked to the side of the road. Her show is over. This saddens me a little bit because I did not yet have the opportunity to go on it. Occasionally a conservative would sneak through. Chris Rufo trolled Joy Reid into inviting him onto her show. We'll talk about Chris Rufo a little bit later in this show. I never made it onto the show, so I'm a little sad for that reason. But otherwise, I ain't shedding any tears. Unlike Joy Reid.
But I've been through every emotion from, anger, rage, disappointment, hurt, feeling that, guilt, that I let my team lose their jobs. But in the end, where I really land and where I've landed on today is just gratitude, just pure gratitude. And gratitude, not just because people would take the time to get on a call like this, or to take care of me, but also that my show had value and that, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV. And this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize.
You know why she's crying? Because of one word in there. Had. That's, I think, why she's crying. I'm actually not celebrating Joy Reid's tears. I know some conservatives indulge schadenfreude every now and again. I really don't. I have some fellow feeling for her. Pains me to see any woman cry, even a woman who's generally contemptible, even a woman who has said genuinely vile things about the American right, her fellow countrymen, especially white men, especially Christians. Even then, I have a little fellow feeling for her. It's not her fault. Well, maybe it is her fault that she's ignorant and given to passions and vice and all the rest. But I feel for her. She's a human being. She's in my business, actually. So but the reason she's crying here is that one word. She does this little Zoom call to meet up with her fans and followers, however many are left, after the show gets canned. And she says, I'm just so grateful that my show had value, that it offered something, past tense. Because it doesn't have value anymore. It doesn't offer anything anymore. And that's what I'm celebrating. I'm really not celebrating that this woman is sad. I hope she's not sad. I hope she becomes happy and has a good life. I am celebrating that there is no longer a market for her disgusting product. That's what I'm genuinely happy about. There has been a major shift. Her show and shows like her show no longer have value. And that's not just because of Joy Reid's favorite villains. The evil white man or the Christians or the conservatives. It's because no one watches her show. The ratings are in. Daily Mail is reporting this. MSNBC lagged to just 45,000 viewers during the day and 63,000 during the peak hours of the night. Simultaneous viewers. That is devastating for a TV news network. You got to remember, last month, there was a strong news cycle. It was the inauguration of President Trump. You had Trudeau announcing that he would be stepping down up at America's Evil Top Hat. You had all of the nominations, the crazy fights over Pete Hegseth and Tulsi and Kennedy and Kash Patel, and still the MSNBC ratings were in the gutter, and Joy Reid's in particular were in the gutter. Even worse for MSNBC, they lost nearly half of their audience in the 25 to 54 demographic, which is the demographic that spends money. That's the demographic that the advertisers care about. That's the demographic that pays for the whole network. That is a 65% collapse since the election. The network's numbers over last year are down a full 41%. So we're not even talking about down from the peak of the craziness of the election. Just this time last year, they're down 41%. There is no longer a market for this product. First of all, most voters voted for Trump. That includes huge swaths of demographics that the Democrats thought that they had on lock. But furthermore, those networks lied to their viewers. They said that Trump was going to lose. They said that Trump was going to go to jail. They said that Trump was a rapist. They said that Trump was a KGB agent. They said that Trump was all of these things that were preposterous. They said that Trump was deeply unpopular. He was this Hitlerian figure. And then most people liked him, and most people like what he's doing. And the vast majority of people agree that he's keeping his campaign promises. That's worth celebrating. We don't need to celebrate our opponents being unhappy. We can actually, but we can and should celebrate the change in political conditions that for now has made them unhappy. And maybe it can be a learning experience for them, and then maybe they can find a little joy in it. All that joy that they've been seeking since the election. Now, speaking of becoming educated, making sense of one's freedom, really acculturating oneself and living life in a more flourishing and happy way, I can't wait to tell you about Hillsdale College. Go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles. As February comes to a close, many of us are settling into our routines, but that doesn't mean the opportunity for fresh starts has passed. Whether your January goals are still going strong or they need a reset, this month offers the perfect moment to embrace learning and growth. This February, I encourage you to spend time exploring something new. After all, why should January have all the fun when it comes to personal development? Well, I'm really excited to tell you about Hillsdale College. They are offering more than 40 free online courses in the most important and enduring subjects. You can learn about C.S. Lewis, the Book of Genesis, the U.S. Constitution, the Roman Republic, the ancient church. I certainly would recommend Marxism, Socialism, and Communism. This brand new online course features Hillsdale professors of history, politics, and economics as they examine Marx's life and writings, the consequences in the Soviet Union, and the spread of cultural Marxism in America. You will explore how many current political ideas are rooted in Marxism while understanding how they differ from Marx's original thought. It is essential to understand these ideas and historical figures thoroughly so you don't sound like a big dummy when you try to spout off on Marx or whatever and you haven't actually read a thing. And also so that you can understand your political order. So if you are ready to further your personal development with fresh knowledge and a renewed desire to learn, go right now to hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles. Free, easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles. Hillsdale.edu/Knowles. Speaking of the press, you know, President Trump has kicked the Associated Press out of certain press events. Not all press events, but certain press events. Off Air Force One, out of the Oval Office, but the AP is still allowed in certain White House events. Anyway, the AP is furious about this. They're suing, and we just got some good news. A judge has just declined to grant the Associated Press an emergency injunction to force their way back into the White House. This was a hearing yesterday. Judge Trevor McFadden has asked for more details about what exactly has gone on in this AP ban. He did not find any reason to immediately stop the White House's ban, though he did warn. He said, case law seems to be against the White House's ban on the AP, but there's no pressing reason that I need to stop the president from running his Oval Office. I'm not, that would seem to be such an overstepping of the role of the judiciary. The libs right now are saying that the executive is assuming too much power. But it's preposterous. The main thing that Trump is doing is actually reducing the power of the executive branch by firing a bunch of bureaucrats. Very few authoritarian, tyrannical leaders take as their first measures the reduction of their own power. But that furthermore, it's not only that constitutionalists need to fear a growth of the executive branch, even if that is what we're happening. And I actually support a stronger and more robust executive branch. But we also need to worry about Congress overstepping its bounds. Now, that's not really a fear because Congress gave away all its power a long time ago. But I think we legitimately ought to be concerned with the judiciary overstepping its branch. I don't want this constitutional order to be completely dominated by one branch over the others, be that the executive or the judiciary. So what's the argument here? What's the AP saying? The AP is saying that it is illegal for the Trump White House not to invite it onto the airplane and into the Oval Office, that it's violating its First Amendment rights by barring them from these really special, super exclusive events that most press outlets don't get to go to. Now, why did Trump ban them in the first place? Because the immediate incident was that the Associated Press is continuing to refer to the Gulf of America as the Gulf of Mexico, even after President Trump, with the force of federal law, with his pen in an executive order, renamed the Gulf of Mexico, which was a totally reasonable thing for the president to do. The Gulf of Mexico used to share more coastline with Mexico before parts of Mexico became America, but now, it's America. America's first of all, even forgetting about the coastline, America's the dominant power. So yeah, it's the Gulf of America. What's wrong with that? By the way, when you're in Arabia, when you're in Dubai, let's say, and you pull up Google Maps and you look at the body of water to your east, it says the Arabian Gulf. Now, if you were to fly to Tehran, it would say the Persian Gulf. But Arabia, the Arabian countries, refer to it as the Arabian Sea, as the Arabian Gulf, rather. And so I don't see any reason why America, the global hegemon, can't talk about the body of water that shares a lot of its coastline as the Gulf of America. Why does the AP do this? Because the AP hates America. Because the AP is radically left-wing. They not only use their stupid language in their own outlet, but they actually set the standards for journalism. And I think this is what it's really about. This is really why the Trump administration is punishing the AP, rightly so. Because the AP style book sets journalistic standards, and it has become radically leftist. Forget about the Gulf of America. They insist on referring to men who pretend to be women as women. They insist on capitalizing the letter B when you refer to black people, but lowercasing the letter W when you refer to white people, as if to say black people are superior to white people. That's just wrong. That's just very ugly and ridiculous. They refuse to permit their journalists to refer to illegal aliens. And in setting that standard in the style book, they're encouraging all the other journalists not to refer to illegal aliens. The AP is a fake news outlet in the truest sense of the term. The AP manipulates language to lie, to deceive, and to force other journalists to do so. If anyone is to be punished, it should be the Associated Press. If anyone should be barred from press events, it should be the Associated Press because they lie. They serve no legitimate function in these press events. The purpose of the press team at the White House is, one, to communicate what the government is doing to the people, and two, to take questions from the people through the media is plural of medium, to ask questions of the government. The Associated Press fails on both counts. The Associated Press does not accurately represent what the government is doing to the people. The audience, even for the Associated Press, is dwindling because of the changes in technology and media consumption. And the Associated Press is not accurately reflecting the questions of the American people. The majority of Americans who understand that men can't become women, and the majority of American voters who voted for Trump. So I don't even get the argument as to why the Associated Press should get this super special treatment, other than, well, they've had it for so long. Yeah, we've had a really corrupt system for so long, and the American people voted to change that. And part of that change is firing some bureaucrats, and part of that change is cutting some spending, and part of that change is sealing off the border, and part of that change, AP, is booting you out for lying. I mean, what the Trump administration is doing right here, I am very pleased and gratified to say, is straight out of my book, Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. Recognizing that the chief way that the left has controlled the political order for about 100 years has been the manipulation and tyrannical control of language. And the Trump admin, and big kudos to the press office here, they go in, they say, oh yeah, worst offender, we're kicking him out of the room. Brilliant stuff. Now, turning to the less public, more secretive parts of the government, this is disreputable and gross, and I'm going to have to actually clean up what the government workers are saying here because this is a family show. But I mentioned Chris Rufo earlier. Chris Rufo has a report out in the City Journal with Hannah Grossman. The NSA's secret chats. This is the NSA, once called no such agency, the National Security Agency. Intelligence officials maintained a chat room to discuss polyamory, that is, sleeping around with lots of different people and cheating. I guess you can't say cheating because people are honest about it, but, just being promiscuous with lots of different people and doing weird stuff. Polyamory and transgender surgeries. This is according to internal documents. According to internal documents that we obtained, write Chris and Hannah, some intelligence agency employees have another on-the-job priority: chats. I'll just read the paragraph, one or two paragraphs here. I'll try to clean it up. We have cultivated sources within the National Security Agency, one current employee and one former employee, who have provided chat logs from the NSA's IntelLink messaging program. According to an NSA press official, quote, all NSA employees sign agreements stating that publishing non-mission related material on IntelLink is a usage violation and will result in disciplinary action. So if you're going to use the official NSA messaging channel, you got to keep it focused on the job. Seems basic, right? We're talking about one of the most intimidating, formidable agencies in the U.S. government. Nonetheless, right, Chris and Hannah, these logs, dating back 2 years, are lurid, featuring wide-ranging discussions of polyamory and this is on the NSA board. One popular chat topic was male-to-female transgender surgery, which involves surgically removing the phallus, cleaning it up, and turning it into an artificial lady part. Mine is everything, said one male who claimed to have had gender reconstruction surgery. I found that I like being, violated. Never liked it before gender reassignment surgery, but all the rest is just as important as well. Another intelligence official on the official messaging board boasted that genital surgery allowed him to, quote, wear leggings or bikinis without having to wear a gaff under it. I don't even know what that is. Okay, then the next paragraph gets so gross and lurid, I'm just not going to read it on the show. But this is the NSA. What's so weird, learning everything we're learning about the federal government, what's so weird reading these chat logs from the NSA is I'm starting to wish that the CIA and the NSA and all the alphabet agencies were, in fact, the evil super geniuses that we're told they are in the conspiracy theories and in the fantasy movies. The CIA had a statement on this. The messages published today from an NSA messaging platform allegedly involving a CIA official are unacceptable. They have no place at the agency. The CIA will be taking immediate action on this matter, which only further proves the need for serious reform, says the Director of Public Affairs for CIA. There's two views of agencies like the CIA and the NSA. The one is the James Bond view. These are masters of the universe. They control the whole world. They've got assets everywhere. The other is the burn after reading Coen Brothers view, which is that these guys can't win for losing. They're just bumbling government bureaucrats, just like anyone else that DOGE is targeting right now. And of course, the reality involves both of those things. But good grief, man. It would be better for these agencies to be run by evil super geniuses, because at least then they could execute on a mission and there's a chance that the mission would be good, at least if we had good political leadership. In this case, though, we are reminded of a basic fact of human nature, which is that sin darkens the intellect. And these people who have a lot of power, who have access to a lot of information about you, they are spying on you 24/7, these people are perverts. A lot of them are just sick perverts, okay? And that is not good. That means that their ability to actually be effective in their job in government is highly compromised. And the likelihood that the way that they will use government power, if they can use it effectively, for gross, weird, disturbing, counterproductive things is much higher than it otherwise would be. Sin darkens the intellect. How perverse do you have to be? How much has your brain needed to be turned to mush by over sexual stimulation and lust that you would even bring yourself to post these things on a government forum, on an NSA forum? Not a good sign. Elon, go over to the NSA. We got some for you. Go get them. On Tuesday, March 4th, President Donald Trump is addressing a joint session of Congress, 9 p.m. Eastern, laying out his America First vision, tackling immigration reform, economic revival, and national security. You know that we are not going to sit this one out. Join us for Backstage Live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. This is going to be our big breakdown with yours truly, as well as Ben, Matt, Drew, and Jeremy. Then we will watch the entire speech together live on DailyWire Plus. And when Trump's done, this is the event shaping America's future. So be there, because we'll be talking about it. Watch it all live on DailyWire Plus this Tuesday night. Not tonight, but next Tuesday night. That's Mardi Gras, right? That's good. So are we going to be we have beads and stuff too? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Matt will, flash open the lumberjack flannel. Who knows? Go to dailywire.com right now. My favorite comment yesterday is from Bogat Molnar 8645, who says, Michael, I'm a Hungarian. I have some good news for you. Viktor Orban, PM of Hungary, announced that the next Pride Parade will be banned in Hungary for the first time ever. Glad that one of my very favorite prime ministers in the world, maybe my favorite, he's definitely up there. Maybe he paid attention to the Jubilee episode. I don't know, but that's great. I think he was on the right track anyway before that. The prime minister said, according to this comment, that we should protect our children from this madness. I absolutely agree with him. And as just a note, I want to share with you, he said earlier, Europe can be saved by just Christianity. That's true. And it can only be saved by Christianity, as a matter of fact. I am a great admirer of Prime Minister Orban and of Hungary generally. I got to see some Hungarian friends when I was in D.C. for CPAC. Got to see them last week. So anyway, a great deal of fun, very exciting news in Hungary, and the rest of Europe should take note. Speaking of perverse people, Sunny Hostin, one of the ladies on The View, she just came out. And you got to give her credit for standing against massive unpopularity. She just came out at a time when woke is at its absolute lowest. Nobody wants to claim that mantle anymore. She claimed that mantle. And she said to oppose woke, actually, is ungodly and unchristian.
The conversations you and I have had, Whoopi, so many times about the co-opting of the word woke. And the fact that the right somehow has made it a dirty word. To be woke is a word that came out of the African-American community. And it was about acknowledging social justice inequities, acknowledging people suffering. It is not a bad thing to care about other people, to care about the sufferings of others, and to act upon it. And so Whoopi will often tell me, well, I've never been asleep. Yeah. And that's how I feel. My parents, they grew up in the civil rights movement. I grew up in the late 60s, 70s. I was always a part of it. And so I've never been asleep. And so it angers me when people are like, this woke stuff, it's got to go. That's telling me that you don't care about my lived experience. You don't care about the oppression of the LGBTQ community. You don't care about the oppression of the disabled. You don't care about the oppression of immigrants. You don't care about your fellow neighbor. And that is ungodly. That is not Christian.
Okay, so we're talking about wokeness. To be woke, it seems right now at a minimum, to be woke requires one to support murdering babies and castrating children. Right? I don't think you could be called woke if you don't support abortion and so-called trans rights, right? So to be woke, at a minimum, there's a lot more that goes along with it, but at a minimum involves supporting the slaughter of millions and millions of babies, well over 1 million every year, and the castration of little kids. And she says that if you oppose those things, you are ungodly and unchristian. Even those two words placed together, she is equating godliness with Christianity. So she's saying Christ is God. She's saying Christianity is the true religion. But if you want to really be a Christian, if you want to really be godly, you have to really be a Christian. And if you want to really be a Christian, you have to oppose non-negotiable tenets of Christianity, moral dicta and anthropological teachings. Going back to the earliest Christian teachings that we have, going back to the earliest days of the church in antiquity, we have the Didache, the first kind of catechism of the church, which forbids abortion. The church has been consistent for 2,000 years that abortion is unacceptable, immoral. But who knows better? 2,000 years of Christians, the succession of the popes and the bishops and the priests and Christians for millennia, or Sonny Hostin? No. I guess Sonny Hostin redefines what is Christian. Going back to the very earliest days, going back to Scripture, certainly, and the earliest days of the church, we recognize that God created man, male and female, created he them. That sex is a part of us. It is immutable. It is defined at our conception, really. And that men and women leave their parents. The man and the woman cling to one another. They become one flesh. And they are told to be fruitful and multiply, which is why the church opposes contraception, which is why the church encourages families, it actually demands that families be open to life. And it's why Christians historically get married, stay married, can't get divorced, and have a lot of kids. All things that Sonny Hostin here is saying, no. Men can become women. Sexes are not immutable. Not only is contraception fine, but sterilization is fine. And actually, we should sterilize little kids. And we should only do that to the kids that we haven't already murdered through abortion. What? How does she get there? I was with her when she equated godliness with Christianity, but then she seems to undermine both. Because leftism is Christianity without Christ. That's what it is. Leftism, I believe, just as an historical matter, a matter of intellectual history, that woke progressive leftists are the descendants of some of my ancestors, I'm sorry to say. Some of my Puritan or alternately Congregationalist or otherwise hardcore Calvinist ancestors in New England. I think that the woke left today is the kind of intellectual ancestor of them. Now, I know you'd say, hold on, Michael, those Puritans, your ancestors, the Pilgrims and the hardcore Calvinists in New England, they were really right-wing. Well, yeah, in a certain way. But I can't remember who deserves credit for this quote. It's not an original observation. But someone observed once, maybe it was Hilaire Belloc, I don't know, that Unitarianism is just Calvinism with mercy. That this kind of puritanical view, which is different than the traditional understanding of Christianity, is a kind of outgrowth of, or rather that wokeness and leftism is an outgrowth of this kind of puritanical view of Christianity, which has just one weird change to it, namely they took out Christ. That's it. It's a perversion. It's an inversion. You know, it's proof of what Chesterton observed in orthodoxy, which is that when a religious scheme is shattered, when you take Christ out of Christianity, for instance, it's not just the vices that run wild, but the virtues that run wild. And the virtues actually run more wild because they're separated from each other. And they do more damage. That's, I think, what we're seeing with Sonny. That's, I think, what we're seeing with wokeness. It's just this perverse Christianity. Well, what was the line? The old line from Niebuhr, the Protestant theologian, who said that today people are asking for a God without wrath to lead a people without sin into a kingdom without judgment through the ministrations of a Christ without a cross. That's what they want. That's wokeness for you. That's why we got to get rid of it. But it does seem that there's still a residual wokeness going around. There's a story. Maybe this will have to be a tease. We don't have too much time to get into it. There's a story now out of Gallup polling that LGBTQ identification in the U.S. has risen to 9.3%. 25, 30 years ago, it was like 1%. 9.3% overall, and that's not even the kicker. The kicker is that among Gen Z, the number is 23.1%. And actually, this is really trying to look at the glass half full. That might be good news because NBC had a poll out a year or two ago, which showed that almost 30% of Gen Z identified as LGBTQ. What is going on? I brought up this question on the Jubilee podcast. I said, it seems to me LGBT identity is a social contagion. They got really, really upset. How else do you explain that, though? I don't know, maybe we'll have time to get to it tomorrow. We don't have time right now because it is LGBT Tuesday. No, there's no LGB. It's just Tuesday. Finally, after 2 weeks of stupid snow days that locked me up in my home because they closed this studio, or being on the road, or having good interviews come in, but I'm finally with you in the Membrum segmentum, the Crème de la Crème, for Tuesday. The rest of the show continues now, not for the hoi polloi. If you want to get it, you got to go to dailywire.com. Use code Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.